With the Rugby World Cup almost upon us, it's time to make some last-minute predictions. Okay, so from Pool A, the two teams that are qualifying for the quarterfinals, in my view, Ireland and Scotland. The teams in the pool include Japan, Samoa, and Russia. I believe the key matchup in this pool is Scotland-Japan. Obviously, Japan's intentions have been made clear. They want to make the quarterfinals. And judging by their performance at the last World Cup, it's definitely possible. Of course, they beat South Africa, probably the biggest shock result in World Cup history of all the World Cups. Unfortunately, they lost badly. They actually played Scotland in the pool last time round as well, but they lost 45-10, and that probably cost them a chance of making the quarterfinals last time. So that matchup between those two teams is the key. I believe Ireland is strong enough to beat every team ahead of them. Scotland, Japan, that's really key. I think Japan have been building the last few years. They just won the Pacific Nations Cup this year. So confidence will be high, and playing at home obviously will give them an advantage. Samoa and Russia make up the rest of the group. Samoa have been quite disappointing, again in the Pacific Nations Cup. I believe they only beat Tonga, I think. And Russia are there to literally make up the numbers. The reason why they're in the World Cup is because Romania, a team that have made the World Cup on every occasion, which I'm surprised that's not bigger news, but I guess it's Romania, so no one really cares. Russia got into the World Cup because Romania, along with Spain and Belgium, were disqualified for fielding illegal players in their qualification rounds. So Russia, get in. Yay! But Russia aren't too bad because I think they have actually beaten some teams that are in the World Cup, including Namibia. They beat earlier this year as well. So that will be the order of Pool A. Oops. Pool B, the one that everyone is talking about, I hope. I certainly am thinking about. The two teams that will qualify in this pool for the quarterfinal will be, of course, New Zealand and South Africa. The other teams making up the pool are Italy, Canada, and Namibia. Talk about a top heavy. I mean, there really is no doubt that these two teams will qualify for the quarterfinal. The question is, who will qualify first? And of course, we will probably find that out this weekend when these two teams play each other. So, of course, the key matchup is New Zealand and South Africa. And I guess it goes without saying, this is the only decent game to watch in this pool. However, if New Zealand and South Africa draw, which they did last time, suddenly these games against Italy, Canada, and Namibia become important because both teams will be worrying about bonus points and about points differential. And so really this pool is about two teams and two teams only. Italy have been very disappointing in the World Cup. Gee, it seems like the All Blacks play Italy all the time in the World Cup. Actually, this will be the 6th time that we play Italy, all in pool play because Italy have never made it to the quarterfinal stage. And all except for one occasion, we've scored at least 70 against them. 70-6, 70-7, 76-14, 101-3. So imagine, I imagine Italy won't be much of a threat to either New Zealand or South Africa. Canada, they've been slowly going downhill. They weren't really competitive in the Pacific Nations Cup. They lost every game, including against Tonga, a team that the All Blacks just beat by almost 100 points, by 85 points. So don't expect much from them. And Namibia, from what I've looked up, they've only played 2 games this year. They did beat Uruguay in Uruguay, and they lost to Russia by 20-0. They also lost to Russia last year, 47-20. So don't expect much to happen from them. Now, New Zealand, of course, play Namibia for the 2nd World Cup in a row. The first time they played them was quite disappointing, to be fair, 58-14 against a team that we should have really put 80 on them, but we didn't. So that was disappointing. So maybe we might be looking for a better performance against the minnow teams. Maybe it doesn't really matter. Who knows? South Africa, of course, have played Namibia in the past in the World Cup back in 2011, and they beat them 87-0. So this pool is all about two teams. Pool C. The two teams qualifying for the quarterfinals will be, in my view, England and France. The other teams making up the pool are Argentina, USA, and Tonga. Now, obviously, the key matchup in this pool is France and Argentina, because the winner of that will probably make the quarterfinal, because I see England winning that pool quite comfortably. Their form has probably been the best of all the Northern Hemisphere teams leading up to the World Cup. I mean, Ireland up and down, Wales up and down, and England, yeah, they did lose to Wales, but that was not a full strength team, and they only lost from a controversial try that Wales were awarded. But yeah, the key game is France, Argentina. Now, Argentina have been disappointing, to say the least, over the last few months. I mean, they had a chance to beat an out of sorts All Black team at home, but they didn't take advantage. They lost to an Australian team that had just got smashed by a South African B team in Johannesburg, and they finished off the Rugby Championship getting plastered at home against South Africa 46-13. So they've been disappointing. France have been generally disappointing. They haven't finished better than fourth in the Six Nations in the last 3 years. And of course, they played in New Zealand, a 3-match series last year, and were not even competitive. Well, second test, they only lost by 13, but the other two test matches, they gave up pretty much 50 points. As for the other teams, USA and Tonga, I expect USA to beat them, judging on their recent form in the Pacific Nations Cup, as mentioned prior. And Tonga, of course, their performance against the All Blacks was disappointing. Their only win in the Pacific Nations Cup was against Canada, 33-23. Pool D. Now, for some reason, the two teams that I believe will qualify will be Australia and Wales, in that order, followed by Fiji, Georgia, and Uruguay. I think the key matchup there is, because I believe the two teams will win. Will qualify for the quarterfinals. So the key matchup will be Australia-Wales. The reason why it'll be the key matchup, even though I think both will be in the quarterfinal, key matchup is that the loser will likely play England. And recently, Australia have not had some very good games against England, and Wales have already shown that a full-strength English team will beat Wales. And for some reason, a lot of people just assuming that Wales will beat Australia because recently they were the number one team in the world. But if you look at history, and like I say, history repeats itself, Australia's performances against Wales have been quite good. In fact, they went, I think at one stage, won 11 straight games against Wales. Now, of course, the last time these teams faced each other, Wales won 9-6 in a dour, ugly, typical Northern Hemisphere game. But generally, Australia have had the Welsh's number. And when you look at the conditions that we're expecting in Japan, good conditions, hot weather, a lot of the grounds are hard, a lot of running rugby, I believe that Australia have the advantage over Wales. Wales are great defensively. Their rush defence by Warren Gatland has been mostly effective, but in conditions that is conducive to running rugby, I believe that Australia have the advantage. So they will beat Wales in their matchup. So that will be the key matchup. Now, a lot of people are saying Fiji will be competitive. Yes, they will be. Georgia, possibly. Now, if you look a bit closer to this group, you might notice something very interesting, is that 4 of these 5 teams were in the same pool in the last World Cup. The only difference being Georgia's there instead of England. So instead of having the pool of death like we did last time, we have the pool of pretty competitive. But I don't believe Fiji or Georgia or Uruguay have the goods to beat the top 2 teams. Now, Fiji, of course, have been performing pretty well recently, but I think their set piece will hurt them. And Georgia, I think, kind of the opposite. Their set piece will be pretty strong. They've always been a good scrummaging good physical team, but I think their backline play will be lacking, and so they won't be able to beat Australia or Wales either. Which brings us to our quarterfinals. Ireland against South Africa, New Zealand against Scotland, England against Wales, and Australia against France. Now, the first matchup, who's going to win that? To be honest, I don't really know. But because I'm a hearty Southern Hemisphere supporter, I will say South Africa. They have better success at the World Cup. Remember, Ireland have never made it past the quarterfinal stage ever in a Rugby World Cup. Now, they are number one. They're a much better team now than they have been in the past. But I still pick South Africa. Now, is it because I'm biased? Maybe. New Zealand, Scotland. New Zealand will win comfortably. Again, we've played Scotland 5 times in the World Cup, most times in quarterfinals, and I think we'll win this one as well. England, Wales, like I said, I believe England are the better team at the moment. And Australia, France. Now, of course, you never know with France. They have that air of unpredictability still, and they've got a bit of flair, so they could actually pull off an upset. But I'm actually picking Australia to win this. But it's one of those, you never know which French team are going to turn up. I mean, just ask John Hart and Graham Henry and Jonah. No, actually, don't ask Jonah. But those are my quarterfinal predictions and my pool predictions. So good luck, All Blacks. Hope we win. But it will be the toughest World Cup that I believe the All Blacks have been a part of for some time. Good luck to everyone, just not to the teams playing New Zealand.